Hey everyone, I'm so excited to chat with you today about a book that has genuinely rocked my world and completely changed how I think about struggle, resilience, and just, well, being human. We're diving deep into Brené Brown's incredible work, Rising Strong: How the Ability to Reset When You Fall Transforms the Way We Live. Love, Parent, and Late. I picked this book up because, let's be honest, who doesn't fall? We all face setbacks, whether big or small, and I was really curious about how some people seem to bounce back with more wisdom and strength while others get stuck. This isn't just a self-help book, it's a deep dive into how we pick ourselves up when life inevitably knocks us down, and it's all backed by years of incredible research. Brené Brown is truly a researcher storyteller, blending rigorous data with raw, relatable personal stories. And it makes the insights so powerful and accessible. She takes these complex, often uncomfortable topics and makes them feel like a conversation with a really wise friend. So what's Rising Strong all about? At its heart, it's about a transformative process for navigating hurt and struggle. Brené argues that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the very birthplace of love, belonging, joy, and creativity. And if you're brave enough to be vulnerable and show up, you're going to fall. It's just the physics of vulnerability. The real courage is in avoiding the fall. It's learning how to rise from it. She breaks this whole process down into three core parts, almost like a map to guide you through the wilderness of hurt. First, there's the reckoning. This is where you actually acknowledge you're feeling something. Imagine you've had a tough day at work, and you just want to punch a wall or eat a whole pack of Oreos. Instead of doing those things, the reckoning asks you to pause and get curious. It's about recognizing that a button has been pushed where you're hugged emotionally. Brené emphasizes that you don't have to perfectly pinpoint the emotion right away, just know something's happening. She talks about how our bodies respond before our conscious minds, often pushing us to offload hurt through things like chandelier exploding on people with less power, bouncing her blaming others for acting indifferent, or numbing her with anything from alcohol to staying perpetually busy. She even has this brilliant term, the umbrage, for people who are so overly sweet and positive that it feels inauthentic and like a ticking bomb because they're denying real pain. What I really took away from this is that hurt doesn't just go away if you ignore it. It festers and drives behaviors that are completely out of line with who you want to be. The key here is to give yourself permission to feel, to get curious, and to breathe through it. She even shares tactical breathing techniques used by military and first responders, which I found incredibly practical. Then we move into the rumble. This is the juicy part, where you get honest about the stories you're making up about your struggles. You know how our brains are wired to make sense of things, even if we have limited data? She calls these conspiracies and confabulationals. We create these elaborate narratives in our heads, often blaming others or diminishing our self-worth. For example, in her famous Lake Travis story, she's swimming with her husband Steve, and she tries to connect with him emotionally, but he just gives a non-committal response. Her immediate story she's making up is that he thinks she's getting old or doesn't look good in her Speedo anymore. But the truth, which she only discovers by rumbling with her emotions and asking him directly, is that he was fighting a full-blown panic attack from a dream he had about the kids drowning in the lake. This revelation of the delta, the difference between the story we make up and the truth, is where all the meaning and wisdom lie. You might be asking, how do you even begin to untangle those made-up stories? Well, she suggests something brilliantly simple: writing your shitty first draft stuff. This isn't about perfectly polished prose, it's about letting everything, all that anger, fear, self-pity, just pour out onto the page. She says our rational grown-up selves are good liars, but the 5-year-old tyrants within us are the ones who can tell it like it is. I've tried this, and it's surprisingly liberating. It allows you to see the raw, unfiltered narrative before it gets edited by fear or pride. The rumble tackles tough topics like boundaries, shame, blame, resentment, heartbreak, generosity, and forgiveness. One of my favorite examples is her sewer rats and scofflaw story. She's initially enraged by someone she perceives as disrespectful and rule-breaking. Her therapist challenges her with a powerful question: do you think, in general, that people are doing the best they can? This isn't about excusing bad behavior, but about fostering generosity of interpretation. It's a huge shift from judgment to a more compassionate understanding, and it profoundly changed her approach to boundaries and self-respect. she developed this concept of living with boundaries, integrity, and generosity, realizing that having clear boundaries isn't about being mean but about protecting yourself from resentment, allowing you to be truly generous and stay in your integrity. And then there's the revolution. This is the big transformation. Once you've reckoned with your emotions and rumble with your stories, you write a new ending. It's about integrating those key learnings into your life and changing how you live, love, parent, and lead. It's not just incremental change, it's a fundamental upheaval that transforms who you are. It's about cultivating wholeheartedness, engaging in life from a place of worthiness, believing you are enough, even with your imperfections. She connects this revolution to the idea that courage is contagious when you choose to rise strong. It inspires others around you. Another huge takeaway for me from this book, especially in the context of our own experiences, is the concept of failure. We often think of failure as something to avoid at all costs, something that makes us powerless, but Breen redefines it. She shares her own incredibly vulnerable story of her first book essentially being composted, and how that devastation led to profound learning. She learned that if you're all in and true to your values, even if failure feels different, and she introduced me to the idea that regret, rather than something to avoid, can be a powerful teacher. Her friend George Saunders' quote really stuck with me. What I regret most in my life are failures of kindness. Regret, when embraced, becomes a call to courage and a path to wisdom, making us braver and more thoughtful. This book also really hit home for me on the topic of asking for help. Breen shares her personal struggle with needing help, often perceiving it as weakness because she was wired to be the helper. But through her research, she found that when you judge yourself for needing help, you judge those you are helping. This was a massive shift for me, realizing that both giving and receiving help are essential for true connection and wholeheartedness. We literally need to need. She even gives us the briefing acronym for building and assessing trust boundaries: reliability, accountability, VOF, integrity, non-judgment, generosity, and it works for self-trust too. So why does any of this matter today? In a world that often feels consumed by scarcity, the idea that there's never enough, and where blame and criticism are rampant, I.C. Strong offers a powerful antidote. It teaches us that to truly innovate, connect, and thrive, we have to lean into discomfort, own our stories, and get curious about our emotions. It's a call to move beyond the shallow gold-plating grid pretending failure is easy or fashionable, and embrace the raw, messy, yet incredibly transformative process of true badness, showing up, falling, feeling the hurt, and getting back up again. My biggest recommendation after reading this is to see your own struggles not as detours but as part of your unique story. Don't hide them, own them. Lean into the discomfort, get curious, and have those brave conversations with yourself and with others. It's not easy, but as Breen says, it's the work of living a wholehearted life. When we own our stories, we avoid being trapped as characters in stories someone else is telling. Instead, we become the authors of our own lives, writing our own daring endings. This book isn't just about surviving, it's about truly living with skinned knees and bruised hearts, but with more wisdom, compassion, and connection than you've ever thought possible. Trust me, it's a journey worth taking.